Hi, welcome to Courageous Journeys. I'm Peggy Oliveira. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you're new here, welcome. I'm very happy to have you. You've heard me talk about connection probably in a lot of different ways over the years. And one of the things that I say all the time is that healing happens in connection. And for a lot of people, they don't really quite understand what that means, what I mean by that. And they also don't necessarily agree with it because there's resistance that comes up around it. But when it comes to healing from interpersonal trauma in particular, any sort of interpersonal wounding that we've experienced, it is within the experience of connection, real connection, not superficial connection, because that's not really connection. It's interaction. But any real connection that we experience mindfully, when we're intentional about it, when we're conscious of it happening, that is how we heal. It's how we heal what we believe about who we are. It's how we heal our nervous system to move out of that fight, flight, or freeze state, or fawn even, through authentic connection. We heal on a cellular level, and certainly on an emotional level as well. And I wanted to do this video today because connection has really been on my mind over these last couple of months or so now. Mostly because, as you probably know if you've watched a few of my videos, over the holiday season, I decided to do just a short 6-week group for people that struggle during the holidays. And it really wasn't meant to be a healing group. It was meant to just be a space for people to come together, to not feel alone in their struggle through the holidays, whether they struggled with the holiday itself, whether they struggled with family dynamics or loss, whatever it might have been. So it was really just a place to come together. But what happened, and this is really the case with spaces that I create, whether they're meant to be healing or just kind of spaces to come together, is as people shared what they were struggling with, it created incredible connection, which created incredible healing experiences. And I had to keep kind of reminding myself that, okay, this group isn't about trying to get them to heal specifically. This group is about creating space to be together. But with every prompt that I shared, every post that went out, I encouraged people to share just what came up for them, what they noticed happening in their body. And as they shared, they created connection with one another. They learned, they experienced that it can be safe to be vulnerable, that you can feel into that vulnerability and experience something that maybe you've never really had an opportunity to experience or really allowed yourself to take in. Because again, there's a difference between interaction and connection. Very different things. And we can only really experience connection when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Because it's that feeling of vulnerability, of uncertainty and fear. When we move through that, we retrain our automatic responses in our nervous system, in our thoughts, in our behavior. One of the people shared amazing things in the group, and it was really so powerful. But one of the questions that came up was why, and I don't remember exactly the wording, but why does it have to be so scary? Why does something that is necessary for healing have to be scary? And I thought it was a really great question. And I thought for a second about how to really respond to that. And I feel like I respond better, or I explain things better on video than in written form. And so while I tried to answer it in written form, I decided to do a video about this because I think it's so important for people to hear again, even if you've heard it many times, and to really reiterate why this is so important, how it actually helps us heal. So the reason that the idea of connection feels scary, I mean, there are a lot of factors that go into it, but ultimately the reason that connection feels scary is because it inherently feels vulnerable. And anything that feels vulnerable, really for almost everybody, regardless of history, anything that feels vulnerable, automatically we want to pull back from that because it seems like vulnerability is a bad thing. Like, why would I want to feel vulnerable? If it feels vulnerable, then why would I want to do that? And so naturally we pull away from anything that feels vulnerable. But the problem is, especially when you've experienced a lot of childhood wounding and certainly trauma, is that almost everything feels vulnerable. The only thing that ever feels even a tiny bit safe, and of course you never really truly feel safe, but the only thing that really kind of helps you feel or think that you are safe is not being vulnerable. So therefore, you don't share what you're really thinking or feeling. You don't reach out and ask for support. You don't share things that you feel shame around. You don't share things or talk about things that you fear being judged around or about. And for somebody who's experienced a lot of interpersonal trauma, that's pretty much your daily experience, right? Everything in a day that you experience can have some connection back to that. And so therefore, you don't really share much of what is real for you. And sometimes you may not even fully understand or recognize what is real for you in that moment. So it feels scary and it feels like the wrong thing to do because our self-protective mechanisms, which is driven by our nervous system, it kicks in and says, don't do that. You're going to get hurt. Don't do that. It's not safe. It's too risky. You're safer here. And like I said, the reality is you're not actually safer there. You've likely been hurt even doing that. Maybe in small ways, maybe in big ways. And if you were experiencing trauma as a child, it definitely didn't protect you, right? The trauma kept happening. But we make ourselves believe, our body makes us believe that that's what we do to keep safe. Because even when we're not actually safe, if it's something that we know what to expect, we know how we feel about it, that feels safer than the unknown. Even if what we experience on the other side of that unknown feels good. And that's one of the things that has happened, or that happens in connection generally, but it has happened in this group, is that things feel vulnerable, things feel uncertain. And on the other side of that, people feel, not just know intellectually, but feel it in their being, what it feels like to be seen and accepted, not judged, not shamed, but to be seen, to feel that vulnerability in being seen, and then to be accepted and supported and hearing other people say me too. Because then you know that you're not the only one, and it helps lift some of that shame. So it feels incredibly scary for a reason. But what we tend to do, because it feels scary, it feels uncertain, it even feels, like I said, wrong. Everything in you is saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. But when we don't do it, that reinforces in our nervous system that that's how we stay safe. And healing is about retraining how we do things, how we think about things, what we believe about things, conscious or otherwise. And we cannot heal if we do not allow ourselves to be seen. If we don't allow ourselves or our voice to be expressed authentically, not saying the things we think we're supposed to say, not doing the things that we think we're supposed to do, that we should do. Because that again reinforces that who we are isn't okay, that we have to pretend to be somebody else, to feel something different than we do. And connection can happen in little moments. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out type of thing, like months of something, though there is absolutely benefit in that, and there can be deeper healing in that. But it can happen in moments of sharing yourself authentically. And that's part of the practice too, because that doesn't feel natural. And those survival mechanisms can kick in and tell you it's not okay. Maybe it shames you that you shouldn't feel that way. Maybe it scares you into saying that if you're vulnerable, somebody's going to take advantage and hurt you. They'll use it against you. There are different ways that can show up, but it all serves the same purpose of keeping you in this little cocoon because it seems like it's safer. But inside that cocoon, you don't live your life. Life is going on around you and you are stuck. It seems safe. It seems perfectly fine sometimes. It seems better than the alternative of discovering what's outside of that. But you deserve more than that. You deserve so much more than that. You deserve to feel, just thinking about the cocoon and the idea of the butterfly, you deserve to feel that lightness and freedom that comes on the other side of that. I used to use this quote all the time. It was actually on my business card when I first started my practice. Just when the caterpillar thought the world was over, it became a butterfly. Because we stay in this place that we think is the only option for us. And I'm saying us because I was there. I had no way to conceptualize something different than what I had lived. And that's part of the struggle of healing, is that when you haven't yet experienced it, it's really pretty impossible to really feel into what that can be. But as we go through the healing process, it is about practicing. It's about allowing yourself to step into vulnerability consciously. It's making deliberate choices about it. It's not just about taking off or kind of coming out of that cocoon with no understanding of anything and just being at the whim of the wind. It's coming out of that with intention, with support to help you navigate. And that support can come from a lot of different places, not just a therapist, though I think a therapist, of course, is helpful and important, but even in our daily interaction, which is one of the reasons why I think the groups are so important. And doing this group again, or doing this group after doing other groups previously, and seeing how it has unfolded so beautifully. I am so proud of these women. Some of them have been with me for quite a while and done a lot of groups with me. Some are really new to me, and it's the first time really doing this kind of group, and everybody just showed up beautifully and created such a healing environment for every person there. And I so desire that for you, for all of you, because there's something about healing in a group setting with other women who get it, or other men if you're a male. And group for men also is incredibly important, because men, generally speaking, are taught that it's not okay to talk about things, anything, really. So definitely for men, group is important too. But doing this group has really completely solidified what I have known to be true for myself. And this video isn't about trusting yourself, but it has helped me these past 6 weeks. Has really helped me trust. And again, trusting ourselves is a process, but it has really helped me trust in what I know to be true about the healing process and about what I love to do, how I want to help people heal. So I'd love to encourage you to consider participating in some sort of group. If you are a trauma survivor, then a group specific to trauma, maybe even your specific type of trauma. If you're struggling with a divorce, connecting with people who are going through that, addiction, connecting with people around that issue. There are groups for all kinds of things, and sometimes they can be challenging to find, but they're there. Surrounding ourselves with people who get it is so important. And you deserve to have that connection, that support, that understanding. And if participating in a group with me sounds like something that you would be interested in doing, I will be launching something different in the coming couple of months or so. And I will be excited to share that with you when all of the details are ready. But whether it's with me or somewhere else, experiencing group, just you can't have a similar experience in one-on-one work, and you can't have a similar experience with a friend. It's a very different kind of experience, and there is so much healing that happens in it. And you deserve that. You so deserve that. It's scary. There's no doubt about that. Everybody that I've known has felt scared, intimidated, wanted to run. At least one of those things. Sometimes all of those things. I remember years ago I had a client when I was doing in-person groups, and she really wanted to do the group, but she was scared. And the first night of group, she sat in her car for a long time, kept thinking about leaving, and she didn't. She came in, and she ended up saying how grateful she was that she didn't leave that first night. It is scary, but it's how we heal. And whether it's sharing something one-on-one with your therapist, allowing your friends to know that you're struggling without even having to go into detail, sharing your true opinion about something, all of those are ways to create authentic connection. And connection is how we heal. Thanks so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your reactions. Did you notice some resistance coming up? Did you roll your eyes, maybe? Those are things that happen a lot when I talk about connection with clients in group setting or an individual. Share your experience. What are some of your fears around connection? I'd love to have some discussion in the comments below. If you think this video would be helpful for someone, please consider sharing it. And if you liked it, if you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up, because that really does help other people find it. And imagine the world we would live in if we all felt safe enough to show up as ourselves. If we were all able to heal the things that keep us afraid, our relationships would be different. Our interactions would be different. We would feel differently even as we walk through a store. Our world would be a better place if we all had the opportunity to truly feel authentically connected. But we can't do that if we're not intentional about it. So I will look forward to seeing you again very soon.